Hey, I'm Brian Birdy, your 2018 National NARPM President. I'm here at the North Carolina NARPM State Conference, and I'm about to teach a class on the items that you must have as a property manager in 2018. Okay, so we have the must-haves for property managers. That's the title of this class. I have a number of things that I believe that you must know and must have to really be successful in this business. Some of these things you're going to be able to look at it and say, check, got it. Doing it right, got it down pat, I got it incorporated in my business, I got all the systems built around it, good. There's value in knowing and sitting in a class and learning that you're doing things right. I'm also going to probably bring things up where you're like, nope, don't have it, don't know what you're talking about, I'm lost, I'm confused, never heard of that before. That's okay, that's why you're here, okay? I found NARPM in 2007 after I'd been doing property management for about 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. And the first thing I learned was that I was doing everything wrong. And I didn't know any better. And then I started figuring out how to start doing it right. So, don't be embarrassed to ask a question if something is just like, and you're like, oh, I don't want to ask it because I'm going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, because we were all there at one time where we want to improve and grow our business. The smartest thing that you did to help yourself was come to this event today. The next smartest thing you can do is actually be engaged and ask questions that you need answers to so that you can grow your business. So as we're going through this today, if there are questions, if I hit something and you're just completely lost and you're like, help, then ask them, because that's why we're here. This isn't just for me to stand up here and tell you that I know some stuff that I learned, because I'm going to tell you what, everything I learned, most of it was by making mistakes and somebody else telling me I should do it better and smarter. So the earlier that you can learn that, the better off it is for you. I don't want anybody standing to be uncomfortable. I got a seat right here up front. Come on, don't be shy. Look, everybody's in a chair. How about that? Is there any empty seats left? 2. Okay, just so we know, somebody else might walk in. So, and then, of course, this is my class. I wrote this thing, so it's my opinion. You may not agree with me. That's okay, too. I think these are must-haves, and hopefully we can all kind of agree with that. But if you disagree with me, that's fine. Property management can be run in many different ways. And one of the things you have to decide is, how are you going to run your business? Hopefully what I can bring you today is challenge you to do some things to make your business better, or to start building on a foundation if you're brand new at this. So the very first thing I think is an absolute must-have is we've got to have property management software. I mean, really true property management software. How many people in this room right now today are not using a true property management software system to manage the doors that they're managing? Is there anybody out there? Nobody. Wow. I managed on a non-property management software for about 10 years. I just didn't even know they existed. I hadn't found NARPM yet. I didn't know that, and I wasn't looking for something because I was paying my owners and keeping track. It was the stupidest system in the world. There was so much double entry, but I was small, so I could get away with it. But as I was growing, it started to be painful, and I realized, man, I am spending so much time just double entering data. Oh, we got seats. There's one back there, and there's one here at the table. And now we're full. So hopefully now I can wish nobody else coming in. Well, the one thing about property management software is that you need to investigate all of them that are available if you're deciding that you're going to get into one or if you're going to be changing one. There's a lot of different ones that are out there, right? If in case you haven't heard, and I probably don't even have them all, but the big boys in the playing field right now, you got Buildium and Rent Manager and Yardi and Appfolio and Property Boss and PropertyWare, and then there are others that other people are using. And there's a lot of them that are out here today that you can go talk to, right? How many people in this room are using one of these guys up here? Boom, put your hands back down. How many people say they have a property management software, but I didn't name it, you're using something other than that's up here? 1, 2. So, right, this is pretty much what and there's nothing wrong with that, right? If it works, good. Here's the thing. Let me just tell you right now. There's no perfect software. None. How many people have used more than one of these up here? Raise your hand. Ha! That proves it right there, including me. Wait a minute, let me raise my hand because I used 2 of them. Actually, I've used 3 of them. I started with Rent Manager by choice. I was forced into Yardi by a corporate investment company that said, here, you want to manage these doors? Let's build them up together, 250 of them. But you have to, once they got a hold of me, we want to switch software. So I had to use Yardi for a while, and now I'm on Propertyware. But guess what? There's no perfect software. You have to look at them all and understand, how does this software work? How do they think I'm supposed to do property management? Okay? Appfolio, for example. You either love it or you hate it. And the reason you love it or hate it is this. You do it this way, and it's the only way you can do it. But if you do it that way, you love it because it's really automated, it's easy to use, it's great. But when you want to do business this way, you hate your software. So again, none of these are bad. They all speak to an individual. You need to find out what kind of software is the right software for you. And it may not be the one you're using today. Don't be in a hurry to switch softwares. Investigate them all. How do you investigate software? Go to people's offices that are using the other software that you think and look at it, use it, look at their reports, find out, ask the questions. Really investigate this stuff. You've been doing business long enough now that you should know, but what does it look like? When I picked Rent Manager, I was looking at all the available products. And remember, back then, Appfolio didn't exist. It wasn't even open yet. And I hadn't even heard of Propertyware. At that time, Promise was the strongest voice out there, right? And it was just old, and it's kind of disappeared from the crowd now, but everybody was using it. Anybody use Promise? You remember those reports? Could you even understand the owner's reports? No. And you send it to your owner every month, and he looked at it and went, what is this telling me? And I said, I can't use this software because I can't even read the reports. So you have to figure out what's up with it. You got to choose the right one for yourself. I don't know what the right one is, and the right one isn't because I use one. I use one that I'm using right now because it's right for me. That doesn't mean it's right for you. I tell people a lot of times, based on what they want to do and how they do things, I said, my software is probably not the right one for you. Don't choose it because what somebody else is using. Find out what's right for you. And then you've got to ensure that you invest in training for you and your staff. These software systems are robust. They are huge, and they can do so much for you. But I can tell you right now, this entire room, almost everybody raised your hand because you use one of these. How many people in this room believe right now you're maximizing the use of your property management software because you know what it can do for you and you know you're using it correctly? Raise your hand. One. What I expected. We're not. There's so much to it. And we always say it, right? Oh, we're so busy. I just want to make sure my owners get paid, my houses get rented, and I stay out of trouble, and then that's fine enough. But you know what? How much more efficient could we be? How many more doors could we manage with less people if we used our software the way it was supposed to be used? That's something I think you have to have. You got to look at yourself and how are you doing this? Do you need to bring in people from those companies to your office and teach you how to do it? Do you need to attend their national conferences that they have where you can take your staff there and spend some money on either one of those solutions, but what will it make you in the long run when you learn how to use your software better? And the other one is maximize the effectiveness and ensure that you're utilizing all the functionality available. I was mentioning something the other day and I said, yeah, I just love this part about Propertyware. I'm using this whole thing and I just think it's the coolest thing. And the guy looks at me and says, I've been on Propertyware for 5 years and I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, really? How can that possible, right? Well, I realized that he just had never investigated. I'm sure he was told about it. He just isn't using it. So you've got to make sure you understand what your systems can do for you, because the worst thing to do would be paying a human being to do the work that your computer could be doing for you for free. And I can tell you right now, a lot of us, that's what we're doing. And we're not using the software for everything that it could do for us. We create secondary spreadsheets, secondary collection points, and now we're having double data entry because we haven't investigated in how can I get everything I want done within my software. So I mean, it's going to be easy to learn it and make it happen and figure it out? Probably not, but long term, you know how much money you're going to save if you just figure out how to do it? We're never going to get away from our computers. Our software system is our life from now on, and they're only going to get more involved in how we do our business. So let's start paying attention to what we're using and making the most of it. How many people are doing electronic applications, leases, and property manager contracts? Everything is signed electronically. Raise your hand high. I want to see the room because I'd love to see the change. Okay, put your hands down. How many of you are not doing, let me ask this question. How many people are still sitting across the desk from the tenant and signing the lease with them? Raise your hand. Okay. Sorry?
Just because it's students.
So you have to.
Require that they sit in front of me.
Who requires it?
I do.
And you do that because?
For undergrads. So they have a clear understanding of what's expected of them.
All right, good. I love this. Yes, what's your name? Angela. Do you have problems with those students after they sign those leases?
Sometimes.
Yep.
But at least I can say, do you remember our conversation? And you
Yep. When you go to court with them to hold them responsible or tell their parents that responsible, the fact that you had that 1 hour conversation of your day make a difference as to whether or not you're going to hold them responsible or not? Nah, you're lying to yourself. Angela, it's for yourself. I'm going to tell you right now. Like, I agree with you. I did the same thing, and that was my speech forever. I'm going to tell you right now. You're wasting time. So, again, right, my opinion, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm going to tell you right now. Add up how many hours you spend signing leases with people. Now, listen to this. Ready? How many of you do it electronically? Tell me. Average time it takes for a lease to get signed when you send it to them electronically. 5 minutes. There you go. 5 minutes. Now, let me tell you, Angela, what really happens when you sit down with them. What's your name? Your name tag's turned around.
Oh, sorry, Erin.
Erin.
Yes.
Erin's here. She's a student. She wants to sign her lease. I'm here. I'm a property manager. I want to sign the lease for her for the next 40 probably minutes or longer maybe. We're going to sit here. We're going to go over everything. You know what Erin's thinking? I don't want to be here. I got other things to do. She is like, sure, When she walks out of this room, she ain't going to learn nothing from what I've said. And you know what I did? I lost an hour. What could I have accomplished in that hour? Now, I can tell you, I have watched over the last 2 years, the ratio of hands on those two questions has drastically changed. More of you are doing this. So as much as I say this is important, probably soon I will remove this from my must-haves as we go forward because everyone's already doing it. But when I first started this, 10% were doing it electronically and 90% were not. And I was telling them all, you have to get off of this. Here's reasons why I love being off of this. For everyone is you receive accurate information, especially on the application part of it, right? Get away from handwritten. You can't read it. Is that a 5 or a 2 or a 6 or a 9 or a 7 or a 1? I don't know. And then you're trying to do it on socials and you don't know if you're screening the right person. When you do it electronically, they're typing in numbers. There's no miscommunication as to what that data means. And if your application data can then get moved over to turn into your lease, you're now not retyping stuff and making human error of typing it wrong, right? It speeds up the approval in the leasing process. Right? Electronic in, electronic approval, electronic, boom, get that thing rented and get that lease signed. It stops individuals from, this is primarily for your owner's side, right? But even sometimes tenants. It stops them from adding or lining out parts of your contract. I remember the first time I had a person, Amy Carnes in San Antonio, she said something about doing a DocuSign on her management agreement. And I said, Amy, what do you mean? She said, Brian, you are smart. Just open it up and do it. It's not that hard. If you need help, call me. So I opened it up, I started working on it, I called her, she answered me 2 things, and that was it. It was like, oh, this is, come on, drag and click, right? Until you could build it up permanently, right? When it first started, I was like, this is easy. Send it to my first owner, he initialed and signed everything, it came back, and I sat there and the light bulb went off, and I went, he didn't change anything. He didn't mark on anything. He didn't ask any questions. Because you know what happens when you send it to them and build your DocuSign? They don't read it. They just go click, I'm done. Not everyone, right? The engineer is going to read everything and send you a 12-page email, but everybody else, a lot of people, but the thing is, they can't change it. I would send off a Word doc and ask them to review it. It would come back all signed like I wanted, but then all kinds of crazy stuff got added or scratched off on my management agreement, and in some cases, my leases. And I'm like, these aren't negotiable items, right? The greatest thing I thought about DocuSign was, and whatever, that's one company. Whatever company does it, the electronic process of getting it signed is they can't change anything. And it allows for a more efficient use of your time and your staff's times. And Angela, is that right? I challenge you, because I believe the same. I want to sit them. I taught them what the rules were. I taught them what my expectations and how to do everything. And then what I realized was, I'm not really gaining anything. I'm losing an hour of my time. I quit doing it, and I looked at it and said, how many more problems do I have? None. How many worse tenants did I have? The same amount. How was it different if I stood in front of the judge and I'm standing there? Because he just looks at me and says, is this the lease? Did you both sign it? He didn't say, how did you sign it? Did you sit them down and interview them and speak with them? That's never asked. And with ours, We had the state of Texas produced a lease signing video for free. I can attach it. I send it to every tenant. It's 25 minutes long. Goes through the whole thing for you. But they still sign it in 5 minutes. So how many people are watching the video? Nobody. And that was another thing. I said, well, you know what? They had a chance to learn on their own time how to sign the lease. They don't care to know about it all. And I'm not going to change their mind by sitting across and talking. Personally, not. Maybe somebody I might have an influence on, but the value of the time, all the things I could do differently, today. Think about it. How are we all still busy? Think about all the things you don't do, you used to have to do by hand, but we're all still busy, right? Because I remember spending hours on hours on hours signing, and that was great. I was like, I'm signing a lease. That means I'm making money. I'm signing a management agreement. I'm meeting with these people. And he's like, there's so much electronic stuff being done now. It's like, how are we still busy? We should all be like sitting around doing nothing. But somehow we continue to stay busy. All right, you have to have a relevant and effective website, right? If your website looks like this, you know you seriously have a problem. Some people in this room probably don't even get that joke because they're like, what is that? That's what a website first looked like a long time ago in the 80s, right? So your website needs to be responsive. What does responsive mean?
Snappy.
Nope.
Cell phone friendly.
Yes, that would be a great description. Responsive means that your singular website will appear appropriately on whatever device opens it. You look on a computer, it looks great. You open up on a tablet, looks good. You open it on a cell phone, still looks good. Doesn't matter who looks at it. The website is responsive. It says, you're looking at me from this source, therefore I will give you what you need to see in the way you need to see it. I don't know how all this stuff works, but I can tell you right now, if you don't have a responsive website, people won't spend any time on it. How much time does your website have to speak to the person who's looking at it? For them to get something, hang around. And remember, all these things are important now. So that's why this is a must-have, right? How much time do you have to make an impact on the viewer of your website when they first hit it?
6 seconds.
Some said 6. Someone said 5.
3.
Someone said 3. We're getting closer. The answer, not from me, from industry experts in this world, is you have 2 seconds to get their attention or they're gone. Boom. And unresponsive and slow websites, if it's not responsive and speaks to them in 2 seconds, they're gone. What's the advantage of a person staying longer than 2 seconds? Google knows it. Google keeps track of who goes to your page, how long they stay there, what do they do there, right? What's the number one thing on websites that people will spend more time on than anything else right now? What is the winner on websites? Anybody know? Video. Who said it? Video is the winner. And how long should videos be?
30 seconds.
Depends on what you're doing, but right? But 30 seconds, 2 minutes or less, depends on the subject. You can make them 7 minutes long if you get it, if the person is finding it at a page that talks to the level of their interest, right? On your initial pages, short videos. The more deeper they get in, the longer the video can get. But if you're on that first page and they click on the video and the video is 30 seconds and they stay for 30 seconds, who wins? You do, because how long would they have stayed? 2. Right? It needs to be ADA compliant. Don't quite understand how I'm going to make my website available to a person who has a disability such as they can't hear or they can't see, but somehow website designers understand what their obligation is to make it ADA compliant, and they can make it ADA compliant. It's a requirement for our sites to be ADA compliant. I have no idea what that means, which just leads to our point that, we probably shouldn't be building our own websites unless anybody in here an SEO expert, a webmaster, a web designing expert? No, we're property managers. So we probably need some help with this. I don't know any of this stuff. I just know what's important. To this page, I called my website guy and said, tell me the things that a website needs to have, no matter who looks at it, so that I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. I don't know any of this stuff. I hired someone to teach me this stuff and to build it for me, but you should know whether or not your page does these things. Is it responsive? Is it ADA compliant? Is it SEO optimized to ensure that you will be found? I remember when I first looked at mine, I listened to a class, he says, yours needs to be SEO optimized. I said, how do I find out if it is? And it gave me some website and I went and searched it. And you know where I showed up? You know what page on Google I was showing up on? 9. Page 9. Any of you ever been to page 9 of Google on a search? No. And I thought I had a great site. It was pretty. It provided lots of data, but guess what? Nobody found it. And I said, okay, time for me to be smart, right? And I paid a lot of money, an unbelievably ridiculous amount of money to build my first website. Because there wasn't all these people out there doing it. I mean, I wish I had all that money back today because it didn't do anything for me. And then I go build a new one years and years later that cost me a lot less money, and the day it turns it on, I start getting leads. And I'm like, oh, this is really important stuff, right? So if your website is not showing up, it can be simply because you're new and you're small and you're fighting in a market that now everybody's in. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It isn't instantaneous. But if you aren't sure that you've really been built correctly, if it's not SEO optimized, if it's not doing the right things to go get it. Who owns YouTube? Google. YouTube is full of what? Videos. Google owns videos. Google owns YouTube. Google decides whether or not your page is relevant. You know one of the fastest ways to make your page more relevant to Google? Videos on your YouTube channel that tie directly to your website. Not just that you have ad on a channel. You got to make sure you set it up right. You know how to do all that? Who knows how to do all that exactly right? Good for you. I don't even know how to do it. I just know I can tell the right people, make sure it's doing it right because I don't want to lose out on that. Videos are huge. You can put a video on your Facebook page from your YouTube channel that's tied to your website, and then every time somebody watches it, Google gives your website credit. This is the kind of stuff we're property managers. So you might want to learn how to do it or pay someone who can help you do it. You got 2 seconds to get their attention. I already went ahead and told you that one. It has to be fast. I wish I don't have the website, but there's a site where you can go test your speed. A Google site, a Google test site. Go look at that. Google website speed test. Google that. It'll probably get you to the right Google site. It's Google telling you. And again, you care about what Google thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks from my website except for Google because they're the king. So if they've got a speed and you go run your speed and it says your speed stinks, then you need to do something about it. It needs to be simple but informative for each type of user. And here's the challenge. Who's opening the page? Who are you speaking to? You're speaking to tenants. You got to get their attention in 2 seconds and be able to go. So remember when the home page used to be what? As much data as you could humanly shove on one piece of paper. That's what a home page used. It used to be like the front page of a newspaper. What is it today? Nothing. Clear buttons that says, what do you want to know? Click here. And then I'll give you a page with more information because I have 2 seconds to get your attention to push a button. I can't tell you everything in 2 seconds. I got to get your attention that says, if you're a tenant, here's where I'm going. If you're a buyer, here's where I'm going. If you're an owner, if you're an investor, if you're a vendor, if you're whoever's looking for me, on that front page, who's looking at it, you got to get their attention. It needs to be simple and informative for each user. And remember this, who cares what you think about the page? Who cares if you think it's, because I used to say, mine is really pretty. I love the way my page looks. I'm not the buyer. Who's the buyer? The owner and the tenant who's out there using your page. What do they need? Not what do you want or what do you like. It has nothing to do with you. What do they need? The ultimate website will probably be something that you don't like because you're not the buyer. You need to speak to your audience and give them what they want. The ability to embrace technology is something I think you absolutely have to have in this business. And I will tell you this, property management is an older business. It always has been. It's starting to change, but it's still older. How many people in this room are younger than 40 years old? Raise your hand. Okay? 20 of you. About a third. It's pretty good. How many of you are younger than 30? Right. 7. I can tell you, 2 years ago, there'd have been nobody in here. Right? Average age of a NARPM member. Average age of a NARPM member. Anybody know? 45. Average age of a NARPM member is 45 years old. Right?